I'm Poe. This is
No. Welcome to the DaPonoPodcast.
Aloha. This is Pono Podcast, Poa.
And this is Noah.
And we're here with Braddah Gomes.
Oh, really excited. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and just share a little bit about your story with us.
Mahalo. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate what you guys are doing. This podcast is fantastic.
Thank you.
And this is just starting out. Bigger and better things for you guys. Mahalo.
Oh, appreciate that. No, we want to thank you. I know we did a little bit on the radio show that we just got done. Hopefully you guys have, streamed that and got him some views and whatever and people listening out there. But we really want to thank you for just the little bits of knowledge that you instilled in us and also the words of encouragement and, hey, you guys have something that, you have the skill set. You have the capability to talk to people and people want to listen. And so we thank you very much for that, because if it wasn't for what you said, and after we left lunch at Watch Maya's, that's all we talked about was how much you believed in us, and we hadn't even done anything yet. And so we really want to thank you for that. And I can't thank you enough. Appreciate you.
You're vala'au with me that day when we were talking Star. It was like, wow, these guys can really, they have some very interesting things to talk about and discuss with people. And it has to be shown to everyone. People need to hear what you guys have to say, especially people who are in, maybe precarious situations where they just moved up from Hawaii, or they've been living here for a long time and they're native Hawaiian or Kama'aina. You guys have some valuable things that let them feel like, okay, somebody did this before, so I'm not going alone.
Yeah.
So you guys have that warmth of aloha for them. So that's really cool.
Oh,
appreciate that.
Thank you. So let's get into kind of like an intro, and this will hopefully feed into some of our conversation today. But we wanted to kind of allow you to introduce yourself. So, what is your name? What is your full name?
It's Stephen Celestine Gomes Jr., but I have like 3 different names that people know me by. I was born and raised as Stephen Celestine Gomes Jr. Father was Stephen Celestine Gomes Sr. My mom was Wilma Pereira. And so I was born and raised on Kauai and the Garden Island, and grew up there. Went to Kolo Elementary School, Kauai High School. Then after that, went to Oahu where my mom was living. My father and mother divorced a long time ago, so she lived on Oahu. Then I went to live with them, went to Leeward Community College, graduated from there, and then went to UH Manoa for a little while. And then I had a sister living in California, so moved up there to the San Francisco Bay Area, and then finished my schooling at San Francisco State University with a degree in broadcast, news, television, and radio. I was telling you about 3 different names I have. So the one everybody knows me by is Braddah Gomes.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
What's the origin of that?
So back in 1991, I moved up here and wanted to be in radio, continue my radio, what I was doing in Hawaii and in San Francisco. I was doing some college radio. Okay. And so I went to KBCS. We were able to get a show there. And one of the hosts of the show was a person named Cousin Clarice, and she was from Maui. And so I would always give them a hard time because I was from Kauai, so we had that neighbor island.
Little rivalry.
Yeah. And so I would tell them, Maui's such a beautiful place. It's just lovely place. I want to play a song for you. Let's hear Beautiful Kauai from Maui. And she would say, Braddah, why you got to do that kind of stuff all the time? And it was Braddah this, Braddah that, Braddah, what you... So it just stayed with me, and it became Braddah Gomes on the radio started in the 1990s, and I've been with that for all these years. So everybody knows me as Braddah Gomes. And Braddah is so much easier to remember than Stephen. Like Uncle, Auntie, Kaz. Yep. How are you, Kaz?
How's it?
Yeah. Braddah. I don't know your name. And then my Hawaiian name is Kaleo Nui, and that was given back to me. That was given to me back in 2000. In about 2000, 2001, 2002, I married my wife, Denise. She's from Oregon, and we conceived a boy on Kauai. That's what I like to say. I don't know if that's true, but and so my dear friend, who I was on the radio for years with, Auntie Moody Kelly Ho'omalu Ka'apana. You probably heard of her. Very famous, Auntie Moody, very dear friend of mine. Was on the radio with me for years, and we became good friends. I helped their halau, different kinds of things, whatever I could do. And so I asked Auntie Moody, in 2003, I'm going to have my son, and I would love to give him a Hawaiian name so that he can reflect my heritage of Kauai. I go back 4 generations on Kauai. So she thought about it. She said, I'll get back with you. And so she gave him Kaleo Nui. I'm sorry. So she gave him Kaleo Kalani because she understood my background as LDS, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So she said, that's his name. And that means sweet heavenly voice. And then we were talking. And then she said, and I said, what about the Hawaiian names that you give in the halau? You give a lot of Hawaiian names to your hula dancers. And she says, you've done so much for Hawaii community up here. You should get a Hawaiian name too. And so she named me Kaleo Nui, which means big voice. And I was in this studio that we're recording, this KXPA studio, when she gave me the name. And I was like, wow, mahalo, Auntie. She says, you take care of that name because you represent that name. And what you do is you are a big voice, whether you know it or not, in this community. So that's how my name. So those 3 names, Stephen Celestine Gomes Jr., Braddah Gomes, and I have Kaleo Nui, which is my Hawaiian name.
So do you know any of the background about gifting names? I know, from our perspective, we were given our Hawaiian names at birth, but this, receiving a Hawaiian name, as you said, with a halau, do you know much behind the origin of giving someone a Hawaiian name like that?
I know I've talked to Auntie Manu Lono, who's from Kauai, who was halau hula o Lono, about that. I've spoken with Auntie Moody. And it all depends. Some of it is inspiration. Because if you go to Auntie Manu Lono's halau hula o Lono, which is basically not doing much now up here in the Pacific Northwest because she's back in Hawaii, but she was feeling inspired. And I remember she named 2 haole girls who are from here. One Puanani, one Nahi Nahi. And I asked her about this. She says, because Nahi Nahi she's so sweet. Puanani, because she reminds me of a flower. And so that's where I understand the Hawaiian names. Like Auntie Moody, many of her halau, they have Hawaiian names too. Because the Hawaiian names for them as living people now, right? Even though the baby going to be the ones that are living that get Hawaiian names, it's usually because of some characteristic with that person. Yeah. And that's what I've learned.
Mm-hmm. And so it's almost kind of like a gift of them acknowledging something special about that person, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking with, the gifting of names, we are very into living your name. We feel like, the names that we've been gifted, there are certain characteristics about you, but it's almost a little bit, we've already kind of talked a little bit about Kuleana, about it's almost your calling to represent that and to live that out. So so what does your Hawaiian name mean again?
Big voice.
Big voice, that's right. So do you feel like you're living your Hawaiian name?
Yeah, because of the things that I've been tasked with doing. MCing. I've been blessed to MC many different events, Live Aloha, the Seattle Slack Key Festival, the Wajimaya Festival, Ahamele, And I've been asked to do a lot of those events. So I would help, that would be my kuleana, to help them make the event, in a sense, bigger. Capture the emotion of the event. Let people know that they're there for a reason. And also to make sure that I push in front what is important, but I push back on me. It's not about me, it's about the event. So that's what I'll do. And so I feel from that standpoint, yes. And then by doing this radio show, it was funny because many years ago when we started the show, we were doing a lot more music.
Okay.
And Auntie Moody came up to me and says, "Brother, you want to do more talk story or what? You want to do some more talking?" And I said, "I don't think so. I think people like the music." That's why I listened to my Auntie Moody, because she was the one who said that's what we should be doing. And so it started to evolve, and it started to get more and more like that. So I give Auntie Moody, again, the famous, the amazing Auntie Moody, all the credit for doing that. And that's so what we do now is we interview people. We used to do a lot more interviews with people from Hawaii, but now we do a lot more interviews with people from here who are having some form of impact on the community, some form of way in which they're loming the culture, taking care of the culture, doing different things too, having fun, doing get-togethers like concerts, different kinds of events. We would go ahead and promote those events because you know how it is. You get everybody together, you feel the aloha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost feel like, and maybe this is just how I'm filtering it, but another way that you're living your voice is not just, or living your name is not just being the big voice for yourself, but you're allowing others to use your platforms to get their voice out. So I would almost encourage you to keep doing whatever it is you're doing because you encouraged us through, as Paul said earlier, to do this. And so I believe you're also living your name by encouraging others and giving them, a helping hand or an encouraging word to continue on their path. So I think you're doing a great job.
Mahalo, Auntie Moody.
Yeah.
Yep. Mahalo, Auntie.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you breaking down your three different names and where they came from and the context behind them. And I mean, that was going to be some of the things we asked, hey, what are some of the names that you go by? What do you prefer? And so you just sharing those, and then also the gifting your Hawaiian name, just listening to it. And it is so you, and it is more than just the voice that you carry. Like my brother just said, it's what you afford other people the opportunity to do through your platform is what I feel like has built the value you have to us so much, is because we see that you are so giving of your time. When you did the Lahaina thing down by the water with the Civic Club was great. That was my first time getting to meet you. And then seeing you MC at the Aha Mele, and just the pivot you had made from us going to the Aha Mele and never really having seen an MC, but really just someone sort of directing, hey, what's going to go on from here to here. But the way that you did it was like, oh my, and it is such that is you pushed the organization and what we're there for forward, and you separated yourself back from it. I think you should allow yourself some kudos, because the work you're doing, I feel, is absolutely amazing and very valuable to the community, not only here, but those who can listen abroad. So I just, again, want to say thank you for that.
And very aloha that it's about other people. It's not about your accolades. It's not about what you're trying to accomplish, but you're, like you said, trying to elevate other people. That's so important. That's
kuleana, that's aloha.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to, walk the walk, talk the talk. I just try it as best I can. And it's not from me. To me, I believe it's from above. The Lord has given me something, a gift, but I don't can claim them, because sometimes things just come.
Yeah.
And when things just come, it's like, where did that come from? You just got to go. Mm-hmm. And so, and I also got to give props and mahalo and aloha to my ohana, my family, because, many times they sacrifice for I can do those things. Mm-hmm. I know I'm front and center and helping, and I'm on stage and all that, but Sometimes I would like to be home with them and doing things, playing games, having fun. But they've been very helpful and helped me to be able to do that, and I appreciate that they do that. Plenty aloha from them.
But so I'd like to talk on that, because that's something that Noah and I have really talked a lot about in, going over momentum. So like when we had first talked about this almost a year ago and started this inception, we had a lot of motivation and momentum to get this thing going. And then with the encouragement that you gave us as well, like, oh man, we really could do this. If he is a broadcaster and he thinks we could, let's just start doing it. But when things started getting hard and, we pretty much took holidays off because, it was the holiday season, and
I got sick one week, and then he got sick another week, and then it's like we weren't talking for weeks. And
your kids are in,
winter sports,
and there's all these things, and it's like, how do you manage the sacrifice that you have to put in separating yourself from that, while also not being down on yourself that you are away from your ohana, but knowing that, hey, they are okay with me being here. They said it's okay, but how do you make it okay with yourself in doing that, even though you know that your family supports you in what you're doing and being away?
It's kind of funny. Pray, ask, because when you pray, you get answers. My answer was, which I never wanted to hear, but get up early. Nobody's up. Get up early and go do your production. Get up early, write your scripts before they wake up, and then do your thing and get back before they're ready to go. And that helped, because this show was Saturday. Before it was 8 a.m. in the morning, we used to start. And then we started at 9. But I would make sure that, if I say I'm going to do something, I do them. And I ask permission. Is it okay if I do this? And one thing is, if you say you're going to do it, so sometimes I would come home, I'd be tired. But you know what? Shut them out, go, and make them happy. Do whatever you can. And so that's what I did. And what happens is, this becomes fun for you as a person. So it's not a burden. It's, okay, I like do this. I'm fortunate I can do this. And it's just like people who help build homes for other people who know more. Monday through Friday, they're doing that job. But on a weekend, they go and they help, and they're doing a job again, but they find joy in that. So if you can find joy in something that is, hard work and all that, but able to maintain your family balance, then I think it's okay from that standpoint. But you gotta pull through, because we learn that the Lord is first, ohana is second, your job is third, your kuleana is fourth. But how you going to manage that? That's the key. So that's what was my answer. And I don't do good late at night working. Some people do. They can work late at night and all that. I get up early. And I'm up early in the morning, and I get a lot of stuff done. And then by the time everybody's up, what is that? There was the ad before. Remember the military ad, the Army ad? We do more before 8 o'clock in the morning. And
you do.
Yeah. And so that motto helped me. So I was able to do a lot of stuff early in the morning. So by the time everything's done, everything's power ready. I put myself, organize everything, and then I was able to get those things done. And I make sure that when I have different kinds of emceeing, that I plan way ahead of time to know that this is coming up and prepare my family for that and try to make it so that it works. So that's how I did it. But still, there's many times I miss some stuff. So, and then I just ask for forgiveness from them. Yeah, and I was blessed that they said, okay, it's okay.
I think we're fortunate, at our point, my kids are teenagers now and, almost graduating high school, and Po'o's kids are now adults. But there is still, a sacrifice, as you said, to be able to do this. But I'm glad, as Po'o and I have kind of worked through the lull that we've kind of said we're in. We've been very just genuine about how we feel. And as Paola said earlier, we had talked about, gosh, we haven't filmed anything in a while. And, we've kind of lost that momentum. Do we still want to keep doing this? And as we thought about that and discussed it, we felt, as we've talked about our Kuleana, like there was a visceral response of no, don't stop.
And tell everybody where that response came from.
That's the thing is like it's from deep within, but like again, that whole Western side wants us. Well, what is it really? What is it? Instead of the indigenous side just being, hey, things happen that you don't understand, and you're not meant to understand. You just need to accept them and take that and move forward. Now we're not talking about like horrible things, but those things that like push you or pressure you in a way to do something that you don't really want to do, but you should be doing. It's like, where does that come from? And it's to the point now. It's like it doesn't matter where it came from. It's what our something is telling us that we need to do. And I really feel it's our kapunas. Like, no, you have this gift. We have planted this in you for you to walk this and do this, and you need to. And so, yeah, like you said, it's just it's a visceral, physical, not feeling well reaction when we even broach the subject about not doing this, even though it is hard, and we are still trying to find that balance, So I thank you for that guidance and really appreciate it. What I'd like to do is I'd like to go back a little bit in time for you, because I feel like nowadays young people, especially in their teen years, they're trying to find out who they are, what they are, who they are, what they're supposed to do. And that's why you see so many kids at certain ages they're the class clown. Then they got a little bully phase, and then they're doing these other things because, again, they're just trying to find out who you were. When you were growing up and in, let's say, middle school and high school, what was that like? What was your identity as a young adult child back then, and how was that shaped by what you experienced on the islands, and then coming here and seeing how children are raised and how that's different, and what are some of those being raised like on an indigenous island to, hey, coming to the mainland and Western me, my, I a lot, which is, I feel is very contradictory to people who grow up on the islands who are really open to what the islands are providing. Is very contradictory when they get here, so how what was that like growing up as a kid? So the main thing is, what was it like growing up as a kid? What was your identity like? Were you staunch and, hey, I'm Hawaiian, and I'm living my best doing what I can here, or was it like, I wish I lived in California, because I at least have somewhere to go. I'm not stuck on a rock, and I can get around this island in less than whatever, So what was that like growing up as a kid?
As a kid, I was really kind of shy, and I remember I could get hurt easily as a young boy. I was kind of an emotional, very sensitive, and but I feel like I was blessed because I lived with all these different races: Japanese, Hawaiian, Portuguese, Filipino, Chinese, Korean, African American, Caucasian. So we had all these different races together. And I remember learning about these different races. I had some really good friends who are Japanese, and we would go to their house. We'd learn how to pound mochi, learn about the different, their traditions. And then I would go to my Hawaiian friends and hang out with them. We'd go fishing. We'd do things like that. Learn about making lei, going up into the mountains and checking out different kinds of things. My Filipino friends, we would hang out with each other and we would cook different kind of foods. We would learn about that. I would always know that, when you go to the house, you take off your shoes. You go inside, you don't wear your shoes in the house. You learn about being kind. And my own family, my parents, my dad, work hard, be honest. My grandfather, who was a very giving person, I learned that they we had a small little farm in the backyard. And up the street we had about a couple acres where we raised cattle. And he didn't make a lot of money. He was working for the sugar plantation, but darn it, they always had stuff. And I learned that there was a saying in Hawaii, to give is to have. That's part of aloha. And my grandpa, we had families who were kind of big, but sometimes they would have hard times making ends meet. So once every like 6 or 7 months, we would kill a cow. And after the cow was slaughtered, they would bring over these big boxes, like about maybe 15, 20 boxes of meat and, beef. And so we would have to scrape them, get rid of all the bone shreds, and then we would pack the meat, and they would weigh them, and we would put down hamburger, we would put down steak, stew meat. We never put down filet mignon. We never put down prime rib. None of that. It was just either this or that or whatever, and then we'd put them in the freezer, and then that's what we would use. And I would hear stories where somebody would come to the house, and his name was Joseph, and then they would say, "Hey, Uncle Joe, we need a little bit help right now because he's kind of having a hard time." So my grandmother would say, "Go in the freezer," and so they would go in the freezer and they get meat. You know how much meat is now? A pound?
Yeah.
And they would just give them away to that family member.
Not expecting anything in return either.
No,
right?
just that they needed help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or they would find out that they were having a hard time.
Mm.
And then my grandmother said, "Joe, go up there, go bring them some of that kind. They're having a hard time." And they would drive up the street, drop off some food. Next thing you know, a couple months later, the same family come back. "Oh, we get some extra vegetables from our garden. Oh, we got some fish. They get some fish." And that's how I learned about aloha and how the more you give, the more you have. And I also learned that if you go to somebody's house, just like you guys tell me, clean after you pow. Just leave. You always do more. And if you go to somebody's house, bring something. You always bring something, no matter what. My dad would, "We'll go down to the store, go grab one pie." "Why?" "Well, we're going to go to the guy's house. We would just bring the pie." And so that's what we would do. And so those kinds of things I learned, and I tried to take that with me with whatever I did. When you're in high school, kind of the selfish years, you're just trying to look out for yourself. But when I was in school, I had my friends that I grew up with, but then I always used to, during my recess, I would walk all around school, visit people, say hi, and walk around, just to be noticed, say hello and all that. And I have many friends at that time. So from that standpoint, I kind of tried to get myself out there so that I could, trying to get rid of my shyness and kind of being. So did a lot of athletics, played football and stuff like that. And I liked to ride motocross when I was younger, and I did a lot of that. So all those things, and I got a job at a Big Save grocery store. So I was always working and keeping busy and doing those kinds of things. So I made it through as a C, maybe low B student. But, and so because of all that I learned, and I just had this thing inside of me that said, Kauai is small. Because I used to go away, visit my mom and my sisters. And so I always knew that there was bigger things. And I used to do a lot of reading when I was younger. So I knew that there were a lot of stuff. So I knew that I would not be living on Kauai in the future. I love the island, but I knew that to expand my horizons. There's other things out there that's pretty amazing. So that's why eventually I left.
So by the time you came to the mainland, I think you said you were going to be attending college and finishing up your college, right? So you were, well into your probably young 20s. Was it a stark difference coming to the mainland and seeing culture or seeing the United States? You have that foundation of the aloha. Did anything shock you or contradict what you would learn when you came here?
I always let people know I'm from Kauai. I'm from Hawaii. And this is why when I speak, I have an accent. And I will not worry about what you think of my accent. And I was blessed long ago to say, this is who I am. And I had to learn that in broadcast. Because in broadcast, the optimum person to be on the radio or broadcasting should have a Midwest voice, milk white Midwest voice. This is national, radio, something like that. And what I learned later when I came up here to the mainland, you need to know your audience. And that's why I go back and I think, man, we were such fools in Hawaii, letting these people tell us how to speak on the radio when that's not the audience we're speaking to. So I learned that don't be afraid of who you are. I had to go through some personal training so I could speak better and enunciate my words, because I really had to know my audience, because I was in the mainland. I was in California. So it's like, if I'm going to speak on TV, I was a reporter at a small TV station in Northern California. You still have to be able to speak without your words being muffled and understand. And you also should have a good basic grammar so that, but when I'm off mic, this is who you have. This is me. So I was able to kind of navigate through that. And I always gave people aloha. I never was a person who would be confrontational. It's not me. It's not who I am. I'm always a nice person. I remember one time a good friend, when I was going to school with him in San Francisco Community College, he told me, Stephen, I don't think there's a angry bone in your body. You're such a nice guy, such a wonderful person. And that was one of the best things that somebody ever told me. And, I just attributed to, I would not treat you bad because I don't want you to treat me bad. Nobody wants to be treated bad. So I just know that you treat people, this is just in the commandment, treat people like you want to be loved, and love the other person, and they love you back. And that's how it operated on me. And so I carried that wherever I went.
That's so good. So you've now transitioned to, the United States. You've gone through college. You've gone through now into broadcasting. Kind of looking back after everything that you've accomplished, is there anything that you would like to have told your younger self? Something now, with all of the hindsight and all of the context of what you've lived now, is there any words of wisdom that you wish you would have given your younger self, maybe even to pass on to future generations? Any words of wisdom that you can think of?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to want what you want to do. I wish that when I was on Kauai, I should have just walked to the radio station that they had over there. Tell my mom, I like listen. I like go inside a station. I like learn.
So even at a young age, you kind of had an inkling to want to do that.
So it started when I was like 7th grade. Okay. What happened was I was playing Pop Warner football, and my coach, his name is Winston Ogata, he was coaching us for the Koloa Raiders. And I was, at the beginning of the game, they would announce you running, and everybody, all the 40 members of the team. So one guy would have the microphone and said, number 54, Milton Koga, guard. Number 12, Alan Bolokan, quarterback. Number 68, Stephen Gomes, tackle. And then so all of us, he would announce all of us. We were all in line. So before they did that, we call him Uncle Winston because I knew his family really close. Uncle Winston looked at me and says, Junior, you go do the huddle prayer.
Ooh.
I'm like, okay, uncle. So he gave me a small piece of paper, and I put in my helmet because you run. So I put them in a helmet, put the helmet on. Number 68, Stephen Gomes. And you stand up, and then you wait till everybody's announced, right? Everybody's announced on the two teams.
Yeah.
And then the announcer would say, doing the huddle prayer, Stephen Gomes. And I would run down, take my helmet off, grab the little piece of paper, and then I would read it in one hand, and I would read, Dear Lord, bless us as we play today. Bless that we have sportsmanship. Bless and not. And then I would do that. And then I was doing it all the time.
Mm.
And then after that, in the 8th grade, we were graduating, and my teacher said, Stephen, you go announce this stuff over here. Okay, give you the paper. I'm like, okay. So,
So you didn't even have like preparation. You were kind of just thrown in there.
yeah.
And you didn't shy away.
But still, it was, I know, but you know why you get shame? I was shamed. I was shamed to go in front of people, make mistakes. I don't know why. It was just how, growing up as a kid. And then, so that carried me all the way through school. I didn't do any MC in high school. I don't know what happened. I wanted to. Somebody asked me to if I wanted to. I said, sure. But then they overlooked me. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Yeah. But then I got my first radio show at the University of Hawaii station, KTUH. And this was back in like 1983, 82, 83. Yeah. And so we did that Saturday mornings.
So don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
That's the big one, huh?
Yeah, just go. And you know what? Hopefully you'll be in a place where you can make mistakes. The University of Hawaii radio station, perfect to make mistakes. Don't be afraid. Go for it. Yeah.
Any words of wisdom for those, because I know we've had plenty of mistakes, any words of wisdom for those that, are struggling with their mistakes and learning from their mistakes?
You just hit the nail on the head, learn. What you're going to find out is as you get better through repetition, you will be able to make this show even more tight. You're going to know how to set everything up quicker. You're going to know how the light should look. You're going to know when you're recording, oh, we don't need to have that. We can edit that out. Things are going to come to you. So just be present with what you do, and it should be fine. You're going to learn, but just learn from all you do, and then you'll be surprised how it becomes innate to you. It's just great. Yeah, it's great.
So do you have, kind of going back to your family, so do you have any siblings?
Yeah, 2 sisters. One lives in Reno, Nevada with her husband. One sister who lives with her wife in Sequim, and my brother who lives on Kauai.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how did those relationships maybe help mold you to be the person that you are today? Or did they ever encourage you, as far as your broadcasting and whatnot? Were they encouraging in your life journey?
My 2 sisters, when my parents divorced, they went to Honolulu. And then my brother and I stayed on Kauai, so I didn't get to grow up with them all the way through. And that was, we kind of lost a lot of time with that. But we always kept in time, and I was the oldest in the family, so it was kind of nice. They always looked up to me, so it was good. But when I went to the Bay Area, because of my sister LaVon. I went and lived with her for a little while. And then they moved to another house. I moved to an apartment. And then we moved back together about a year or so later. And we lived with each other for about 7 years. And then my sister Sue Lynn came up, Kulina. And she used to help me when I was at San Francisco State University because I needed somebody to, like a reporter. So I would record her voice, and I'd give her the script. She'd say, and what's happening now, Stephen Gomes? And then I would repeat it. Well, I'm here at the corner of, and then doing some radio stuff. So she was very helpful. And then she later became co-host with me on the radio show.
Oh,
before she moved,
awesome.
Sister Kulina, until she moved to Reno. And then she's been there for a few years now.
I'm always kind of curious because I'm the baby again of the 3. So as the oldest, do you ever feel any pressure to lead, because for Hawaiian culture, usually the older that you are, usually there's almost a responsibility that you have to take up the mantle to help the family along. We're kind of coming into a season of life to where, we're realizing our mom, she's the oldest. And so she is, now the matriarch of our family, and it's like, wow, like to us that blew our mind. And I'm always kind of curious, like, again, as the eldest of your siblings, do you ever feel any pressure to lead them or guide them or anything like that?
I don't feel pressure, but I just tell myself I'm going to be a model person to them. I'm going to be a good person, be honest. I'm not going to tell lies. I'm going to be speak well of people, and make sure that if there's something going on, that we know exactly what the problem is, and help be a person who has solutions, who has a positive way of doing it, and being the brother you can look up to.
Yeah.
I want them to be able to continue to look up to me. And so that's why, no, not a lot of pressure to be a good person, but, it's what I want to do, because I want my sisters to continue to look up to me, that know that I'm honest with them in everything I do. I love them, and I would rather give up things to not lose them than have things and then I lose my sisters. That's not what I want. I want them to be my sisters forever.
Yeah.
And know that I love them forever. And that is, ohana. And I want to make sure that they're doing really well. I'm so impressed by them. They're hard workers. They love their spouses, and they go through the ups and downs like everybody does. And I just want them to know that I'm here for them.
Man, that's so beautiful. I think we get told so much about our three siblings, or us together, that people look at us and they say, even audibly, we wish we had the connection you guys had. And so it's so beautiful to hear the genuine love that you have for your siblings, because sadly, as we've kind of interviewed some people and talked with people, it's those connections with siblings seem to be further apart than they need to be, and there's a lot of fractured families and things like that. So I don't know. It's just hopeful for me to hear that you want to do that for them.
Yeah, because sometimes people let money get in the way of things.
Yeah.
Stuff get in the way of things. You can take that stuff with you when you make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you make the right decision now, and we've been blessed to have a lot of things that we need to survive and to do well. And, so we're fortunate from that standpoint. Had good grandpa and grandma that took care of us. And so I'm very blessed from that standpoint.
Good.
Yeah. There's a lot that I want to ask, but one of the things that you've talked about, or you mentioned, was that you alluded to, you educated yourself by reading when you were younger, learning that there was more to the world than just the island that you were on, and that you were pining to go see what that was like. And then I thought I heard you say or alluded to that when you left, you were okay leaving. I've talked to people who have left the islands, and some are like you. You're like, hey, we're okay. We're okay being here on the continent. And others who have been like, man, I wish I wouldn't have left. What is your thought behind people who want to go back? Because that's one thing. Like growing up as kids, we alluded to on the radio show that our parents didn't want to both have to be working 3 jobs and still putting food on the table. But I think that comes from, again, so one of the things was our mom. Yes, she was born in Hawaii, but she really grew up on the mainland. So she has a more Western-driven ideology and framework to look from. Again, yes, she was surrounded by Hawaiian people, but at the same time, when she left that and then they came up to Washington, they didn't have that at all. So any identity she had and thought about what it was like to be a Hawaiian person was gone. And it wasn't until she was older that got rekindled. So, the basis of what it was like being Hawaiian was, I feel it was very minimal from our parents, but it was very direct in what it was. Your words carry weight. What you say, you mean. Our dad was always telling us, just show up. If you say you're going to be there, great. Be there because you said you're going to be there. But just show up. Just be there. You shouldn't have to say that you're going to show up. You just show up and help when people need it. And our mother from the other side was trying to teach us the art side of it when she got reintroduced to hula and things like that. So with that, we never thought about ever wanting to go back to the islands and live because, it's so expensive. And then, when our grandparents passed away and we saw how much this little cinder block house on a flat concrete pad in Kaneohe sold for. We're like, are you? There's not even windows. Those are louvers for windows, and it's sold for that much. So it's like, yeah, we can't afford this. But what is your thought about those who are wanting to get back, but maybe can't financially? I know this is sort of a loaded question, and if you don't know where to go with it, I totally understand. But it's just, what is your thought on people leaving the islands and staying away from it, or those who leave the islands for a better economic solution for themselves, but also those pining to get back to that and knowing that there's a good chance that they may not?
You know, everybody's different.
Yeah.
I remember something really was kind of profound to me when I was leaving in 1984 to move up to the mainland, to we call it the mainland back then, to go to school and maybe see what happens. And Braddah told me, he was there, and I said, yeah, we move away. I don't know if we're going to come back. He says, brah, they always come back, he told me. And it all depends on you as a person.
Yeah.
If you want to go back really bad, you find the way to do it. You're going to work hard. You save your money.
Yeah.
You can do it. But understand the parameters in which you go back. There's opportunities. I mean, you know, you can go back to school, become a doctor, or make money. You can make good money. They're looking for plenty of doctors in Hawaii. Unbelievable. So if there's a means, if you really want to go back, you can. You can go to Hawaii Island. The homes are cheap compared to every place else.
Yeah.
So if you really want to go back, you can. There's no question. You just got to really want to do it and do it the right way. If you find that you live up here and you're happy and you like going back visit and all that, that's okay too. But you shouldn't go out of your way to criticize people who live up here because, they don't care about back home. They don't care about what's going on with the island and all that. That's not true. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
Because Native Hawaiians went to Hawaii from a different place.
Yeah.
And when you discover why they left the place, get plenty of reasons. Many of them didn't like the caste system that they were living in.
Oh, wow.
So they jumped on the voyaging canoe and they left and they found a new place.
Yeah.
So many of them did not like the situation they were living in, even in Hawaii. That's why a lot of people left Hawaii, because they didn't like the situation they were living in.
Yeah.
Many of them don't like the island style. Many of them do. So we shouldn't criticize. If you want to go for it.
Yeah.
Nobody's holding you back. We're blessed to have this country where you can go and move where you want. There's other places you can.
Yeah.
You know, you want blacksmith. That's all you're gonna do the rest of your life. You're gonna do something like this. That's all you're gonna do. We're blessed to have this country from that standpoint. We gotta malama the country and take care of it. And we go back home. If you want to go back home, get involved if you want to. If you don't want, you just want to go fishing and do things, fine. You can do whatever. But, from that standpoint, if you want to do it, go for it. But don't criticize other people who may want to do it. Don't take shots at them. You don't know their situation. You just don't know,
Yeah.
Do you have any concern with, I've been hearing, I don't know the actual statistics, but I've been hearing a lot of there's less Native Hawaiians actually on the islands anymore. There's more per capita now on the continent.
Yeah, census. That was the recent census.
So do you have any thoughts on that? Is there any concern that you have? Is there any, I don't know. I'm not sure how to feel about it. And so I'm just kind of curious what you think.
I feel like you. I don't know what to think about it. I know that many Hawaiians have come up here and are doing well. And I know that many Hawaiians who have come up here long ago did very well to the point where they name places after them. Kalama, Washington is known for John Kalama, who came from Maui and worked up here, married into one of the tribes up here. Yes. And they loved him so much. He did so much for them that they named a place after him. He's Kanaka Maole. He's Hawaiian. And now half the tribe is Hawaiian. So he came up here, passed away up here. And he also brought his culture up here. There's a place in Canada, there's an island that Hokulea stopped at the recent time they came up. That is Hawaiian. There's a Hawaiian colony out there. There's,
Yeah, I heard about
yes, and there's a church that was built by the Hawaiian community up there. Because this area back then was racist, and so Hawaiians they were treated badly.
Yeah.
So they went Canada. Guess what happened? You guys go Canada. You guys take care of yourself. Do whatever you want in Canada. Canada's a free country. They went up there. They made their presence felt. They did Hawaiian cultural activities. Do the laulaus, they do all that stuff, all their Hawaiian culture, play the music and everything. And it was amazing to hear and see. So Hawaiians, as they say, there's a diaspora. And Hawaiians have to respect that diaspora because it's going all over the place. People are learning stuff all over about Native Hawaiians. The thing that people need to do is keep it pono, keep it right, keep it correct. And if you move away, if you stay to your traditions, I have no problem with that, as long as you can stay with your traditions. And that's why I see when kumus from Hawaii come up and they teach, because they want the Hawaiian community to continue doing the right thing. Yeah, so I have no problem with that at all from that standpoint. I just don't like it when people criticize and say, you guys left and all that. Well, it's not right. You guys got to stay on the Aina. Some people would say, I would never leave. I'd rather be homeless and live in Hawaii than that. Well, that's your choice, and that's okay. That's their choice, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Respect that. Respect that. They still get aloha. They get aloha for you too, so respect that. That's not aloha when you criticize somebody. You tell,
exactly.
And I don't. It's not the meaning of aloha is not like that.
And I think that's one of the things that we wrestled with early was feeling like an imposter, we don't have the context of living on the island. We are descendants of Hawaiians, but we've born and raised here on the continent. And so there's that yearning, that desire to want to know more about that. But we felt if we shared our culture, it's through the filter of not actually being on the island. And in our minds, we felt that was a hypocrisy. It was not right because we don't have the full context.
Yeah,
of saying
who are we?
Who are we?
No, you know what though?
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now. The reason you have this kuleana is because you need to now learn your descendants. You need to learn all of them. You need to go back a long ways. So when you go and somebody confronts you about being Native Hawaiian, you tell them, this is my auntie, this is my uncle, this is who I am, and this is where we go. And you go back and back, and you tell them, I'm going to tell you who they are. Da-da-da-da, you tell them, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da. Kamaili Hamada,
Yeah.
he's a kumuhula who lives up here.
Yep.
His kuleana is to watch his family. He showed me a paper that went from here all the way down the hallway of his family. He knew all of them. He knew the chants of every family name in that.
Wow.
That's your responsibility. You guys find that out. You learn that. Nobody can tell you anything. You can come back and say, this is my family who was in Kohala. This is my family who went here. My ohana, I can tell them, I was blessed. I get 4 generations on Kauai. My dad, my grandpa, Joseph, my great-grandpa, and then his great-great-grandpa came from the Azores to Hawaii. So that's why it's so important with your genealogy. Learn your genealogy so you can, and then pass that genealogy to your kids.
Yeah.
Tell them. That's how you go and tell somebody. You want to know if I'm Native Hawaiian? Here we go. I'll tell you right now. I can show you the book.
I feel like
they
an
won't
episode
say
idea.
anything. and then you tell them, I want you to tell me yours. I'm not trying to be confrontational, but I'm just telling you how you can deflect what they do to you if they want to do it to you. This is where I come from. They're not going to say anything.
Yeah.
They cannot.
I don't think, I don't think we've never experienced someone like in our face questioning, because I think we passed the eye test just by someone seeing it. But then when we open our mouth, oh, you speak perfect English. Yeah, give us a week on the islands. It's pigeon broken English so bad.
Yeah,
but I love it.
But when you go back Hawaii, they know.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I go back Hawaii, they look, oh, not a haole.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I open my mouth, oh, Portuguese. Where you from? What high school? I knew you father. Oh, your grandfather, good man. Yeah, so, but that's not happening a lot now because a lot of those people who knew my father, they're not around. It's a sad thing, but it's true.
So one of the episodes that we're wanting to film actually with our sister is about and the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because of your lineage and you just making the point that hey, no one knows my father anymore and he's gone and this and that. So we recently just lost our last grandparent, and that I didn't think much of it. We knew she was, on the downward slide and it was going to happen. But as soon as it happened, after the memorial, I'm sitting there with Noah and I just like, dude, I was like, we don't have any grandparents anymore. And so that was like an epiphany, like no other, and what did you ever have anything like that? And how did you get through that? Because again, for us, we hold our grandparents and our kapunas like up on this pedestal of who they were because of how they were in our life and the experiences. Even with our grandparents on the islands, even though we got a handful of experiences, they're seared into our minds, those experiences with them. And now they're gone. And it's just, how have you ever thought about that? And what was that like? And now that, like you said, hey, now you're the oldest in your family, and what was that like for you? Or have you thought about that?
Well, talking story.
Yeah.
The stories about them. And trying to instill that in Micah Kaleokalani Gomes, my son, and tell him the stories. Remember when, Grandpa? Remember we did this and all that. So, and I got to do better with my genealogy so I can pass that on to him so that continues to go so that we have generations to follow that he knows a little bit about because we all going to die. This is part of we're going to go to the next level, so that's what I have to do. I got to go and present that to him and just continue with the stories so that he could tell the stories to his kids and then trust that I say, hey, don't forget, you got to tell the stories about your kids, maybe to your grandpa. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but that's how you do it and keep it important to keep the lineage strong,
Yeah, you just saying that makes me think, man, I've got to do better about, because my kids, my dad was their grandpa, and they hold him just like we held our grandpa on this pedestal, in this high regard for the things that he provided for them, and I don't think it's that they forgot him, but maybe just reminding them of it, but also telling them stories from the context of who our dad was or who their grandpa was to us. So again, that they learn a little bit more about them outside of just them being a grandpa and who they were as a person and that we learned. So thank you for that. Thank you. Appreciate that.
And kind of along those same lines, we're realizing as we're getting into our 40s, we're still young in some aspects, but we're feeling the age. We were realizing we're coming out of, kind of an era and approaching the kupuna, level. Have you ever considered, yourself as, a kupuna and what does that mean to you? And how do you live that out? What is that? What is that like? Or have you even considered it?
Two instances. I married my wife, and she had children already, five children when we got married.
Okay.
And then we'll be married 25 years in July.
Congratulations.
Denise Gomes. And it just happened one day. We went and visited them, and they had children. And we walk in the house, Grandma, Grandpa!
Just like that.
And it hits you. It's like, oh my gosh. So now I've got 16 mo'opuna, 16 grandkids. Yeah.
Wow.
And the other thing was I went and we had halaus. I went to an event. I was MC. And then pretty little girl came up to me. I say, Uncle. Yes. I'm no longer a good-looking young man. Uncle. It's like, okay. So those things really, and it's just natural.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody goes through that. And so, but I like keeping the name Braddah. Because Braddah kind of keeps me young and keeps me fun and having fun and all that. But the white hair and all that give it away. So, but yeah. And I don't share because I have to share. I share when they want me to share. When they have questions like this right now. It's my kuleana to share. You guys want me to share, and I'll share a little bit about who I am. And so, I also, if they want me to talk about different kinds of things, or, if they have any information they want me to pass on them, then I'll do that. And I'll be more than happy to, and share that. And it's part of being aloha. It's part of our culture that I learned from all the different cultures together. They all have grandpas and grandmas and everything like that. And just serve, help them, whatever they need. So that's, one of the things that's important. So,
do you ever feel, and again, I'll use the word pressure, but like a responsibility at all to, pass on certain things, as the kupuna, trying to help? Because like I know Paoa navigating being a grandfather, his eldest son, Michael, was mentioning to him like, Dad, I don't need you to father my kids. I just need you to be grandpa. And so Michael had a context of what that meant. And I think it was awesome to hear Paoa kind of verbally process that. And he was like, man, Michael, my oldest, is envisioning our dad being his grandfather. And so what Michael was looking for is like, I don't need you to tell my boys no. I don't need you to discipline them. I'm dad. I will do that. Mom will do that. I just need you to be a grandpa. So in that context of like being the kupuna, what does that mean to you? Like, does that change anything as far as how you approach, your grandkids or how you treat them? I know for Paoa, he had to kind of make a switch of like, yeah, I don't need to be their dad. I need to just be grandpa. And I'm not 100% sure what he has ultimately landed on with that. But for you, like, is there any difference as far as, being a grandpa apart from being a father?
Like, I had to learn to. Just like you. You're not their dad. And my wife has talked to me about it because, I married her with all these children, and then they had, and then I see them mouth off or something like that, or being bad, like, doing things like hitting each other, kids and all that. But, I sometimes I just give them the look like, really? You doing that? You shouldn't be doing that. But that's not my job to tell them and all that. So grandpa is just being there, helping. If we get together and make sure I play games with them, when got to clean things up, I'm there cleaning up, helping, putting back this away, putting that away, helping start the event, getting everybody together and all that. And then, when we're sitting down, having fun, just listening to them. And if they ask me questions, talk to them about stuff, play with them. And then, just being grandpa is like just being on the side, having fun and letting them do their business, because it's not me to tell them what to do. Grandpas shouldn't do that. You just love and support and being aloha. So
it's that presence.
Yeah. But also a good presence. Not mouthing off to your wife or doing anything that
Yes.
kind of, can make it look bad. Being positive and being right there and understanding and loving. So that's what it is. And it's not easy because,
No.
Especially with kids, but you just have to do that.
Yes.
That's your role. So I bless my wife told me, hey, don't worry, don't do that. It's not your job. So I had to learn that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, and that was the hardest thing, is because like we were talking about before, we hold our, our dad and our grandpa Gene, in this high regard, even our grandpa Bill, my mom's dad, in this high regard, just because of the moments and the impacts and the little moments. Again, we didn't get to spend a lot of time with them that we wish we would have. But dang it, we had some amazing moments, and that's the thing I loved is that whenever we were around them, whether it be my dad or our grandfathers, time stopped, and they made sure they focused on us. And so here I was, my oldest telling me, I just need you to be grandpa, and I'm like, I'm thinking of my grandpa Bill, my grandpa Nipo, and even my dad for him, and I'm like, I am not those men. I don't even know how to do that, and I do because what made them made me too. I have it in me. I just gotta find it. And so, and it's just right. I don't need to be their father. I can help them, make better decisions about what it is they're doing, but it's not my job to sit there and parent them. But you're right. Just surround them with love, and when I get the moments that I have, make sure they have my undivided attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, like you said, being an example, like you said, for
definitely.
your siblings, you're an example to them in certain ways. You want them to look up to you. But I think also for, as a grandparent, I'm speaking out of turn because I don't have grandkids yet, but I would assume, again, being present, but really just, making sure that they have someone worthy to admire and look up to. I think that's good.
I got a fun sort of question for you, and we sort of, this was something. So he got asked by one of his daughter's good friends. She's doing a project, and so she had about indigenous people, and she chose the Hawaiian people, and so she had all these questions that she was going to ask Noah, and Noah brought him over. He's like, man, how should I answer some of these? So we were going through them, and one of them was about Hawaiian time. So our grandpa, he taught us his opinion on the term Hawaiian time and what it meant to him. Do you view that term in jest, something that's positive or something that's negative?
I don't know the origin of that.
Yeah.
But I kind of have a feeling that it has some kind of negative connotation to it. And so I don't view it positively. I don't view it, as a positive term, but I view it when somebody says that, they make an excuse. And so I just kind of like, okay. Usually it's in the context of I was late.
Yeah.
Oh, Hawaiian time.
Yeah.
Bruh. Okay. But yeah. I don't believe that there's something to that.
Yeah.
And I don't hear it a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe back home they say, oh, Hawaiian time, but that was not a positive connotation. Yeah. So I don't talk about it that way. Yeah. If I'm late, I'm late. Sorry.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's sad because, this is a Caucasian young lady, and I'm sure she was fed some of these questions by, because she has to fill out a report, and do an interview. So sadly, as I read her question, I could see that it was coming from a jest. Like, it's just, hey, how has this affected Hawaiian culture? The way that the question was formulated was not, I don't believe it was really to get our opinion about it. It was supposed to be a fun kind of like, oh yeah, just hang loose. But I think Po'oa shared, and please speak into this, Po'oa was given our grandpa's kind of definition of it and his opinion on it, which is very similar to yours. And
so he told us, so I was young, and I remember, I think either someone said it around us when we were at home in Hawaii, at his house in Kaneohe, someone had said something, and I don't know if it was someone who was visiting with us or something, and he immediately cut that. He's like, there's no such thing as Hawaiian time. My grandpa's in the military. Dad's in the military. So time, being on time, if you're on time, you're late. So he's like, Hawaiian time for me was a derogatory term. It meant that you're lazy, that you don't know how to keep time, and that we can't count on you. When you say you need to be here or you're going to do something, you can't. That we know you just run on Hawaiian time. You're going to be late. That is not who we are. Nipos, we're not late. We don't run on Hawaiian time. We don't have that in our vocabulary. That is nothing for us. We are, if you're on time, you're late, Po'oa. You need to be there 15 minutes early, if not hours before, to help out with everything. When they say they're going to start here, you had better be, and it's an event, you had better be here at this time to help give before you take. And I was like, yes, Grandpa. So living here and hearing people who, went and visited the islands, oh, we're running on Hawaiian time. Oh, don't say that. That's not a good term. So whenever I hear it as a very negative, now, even though it's used in jest, trying to find a positive way to express my displeasure in that term to them, again, I don't know the origins, and it wasn't, again, my grandpa, I think I was 10 or 12 at the time, but I just remember it being seared into my head. And he didn't go into it long because I was just hearing the conversation between what he was saying to someone else. Like, it wasn't directed at me. It was directed at him because I know he would never talk to me like that. But I still remember him talking about that and knowing that he never used that term. My dad never used that term. And whenever we heard it, he's just like, yeah, no, that's not us. We don't do that. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your outlook on that. Because, again, it was never seen as a positive term from people we've seen.
Yeah. So, because this whole, interview is really about you kind of getting your stories. So are there any other cool stories about, your life that you haven't shared yet that, you might just want to throw in there, maybe lessons learned or, something, an event that happened that really helped shape who you are, that, anything like that? Any nuggets of wisdom or anything that you'd like to pass on as part of your story?
One thing that happened to me, and I still kind of pinch myself. When I first moved here, I tried to get into the station I'm working at now. It's called KUOW. It's the National Public Radio Station
NPR,
here.
yeah, okay.
It's like huge in this area. I tried to get in for an internship, and I already graduated college and all that, but I moved up here, and I went in and did some work, and they said, well, thank you. And that was the end of that.
Yeah.
And then I was doing this show, and then I met Greg Porter, Uncle Greg Porter, good friend of mine. And his kumu, Gloria Nahalea, said, brother, you should talk to him. He's done radio. Maybe you guys can do the radio show together. I said, sure. Howley boy from Iowa.
Oh, wow.
Amazing guy. Hawaiian at heart. Can play slack key, can play Hawaiian bass, dance hula.
Oh, wow.
That brother can dance hula. I tried to dance hula. Auntie Moody, she was teaching me how to dance Helion to Kauai. At one point she says, why don't you sit down and practice and just do hula, sit down on a chair. Uncle Greg can dance ulu palakua, and he does a nice job.
Wow.
And he's performed all over with his Hawaiian music. 12 years ago almost now, he was working at KUOW as the announcer on the weekend. And Uncle Greg recommended me to work a weekend shift. And he told the boss at that time, another good friend, Guy Nelson. Guy Nelson is the professionals pro. Guy's amazing. His delivery's awesome. Mm-hmm. And he said, sure, I'll if you recommend him, Stephen Gomes, I'll listen and we'll see what we can do. So he said, go ahead, go on a weekend, put together a resume and go in. I told him you got the chops to do it. He told me, Uncle Greg Porter told me. I told him you got the chops to do it. Just go in. I went in, and Guy Nelson put me through the ringer. He told me, okay, we're going to go downstairs and we're going to practice. I want to hear what you do. He practiced with me downstairs in a studio like this. Okay, do it again. Da-da-da-da. I would do it. And he gave me the 5 things you need to do when you do the show. Love your job, enunciate your words, watch your tempo, talk slow, you don't have to talk fast. Read your material before you go on the air, all these things. And I started doing the weekends as an announcer. I would be doing the night shift, and it was from 3 to 7. I would come in, I would do that, and I was working at that time at the IRS.
Oh, wow.
And when I was at the IRS, I wasn't happy because I wasn't doing my broadcast, I grew up. So I was working, doing the show. Then they had 2 stations at that time. It was called KUW and KUW2. It was online, and it was on a small FM band that they had in Bellingham. So I was doing the KUW2 in the mornings. I would get up at 4:30, and I would go, and I was working on KUW2. And then there was an opening. They wanted to switch the way we were doing things at KUW, and they were having in the past the announcer who would do the news, would do everything on the main station.
Wow.
And it was too much. He would sound rushed. Things would get They would make mistakes and all that. So they said, what we're going to do, we're going to take you, person. His name is Bill Radke. We're going to put you here, and we're going to put in a board up.
Oh.
Who wants to be the board up? I said, I'll give it a shot. I've been a board up for a long time. I know what I'm doing. So I went with him, and we did the show in the morning. And we were doing good. I had some problems at the beginning. It was hard because, like anything else. And I became the board up in the morning.
Now, what is a board up?
You know what you see me doing here?
Okay.
And then I would be the one doing all the work here. And then the person would be in the other room. And I would cue him and I would say, okay, it's your turn.
Oh, okay.
And then he would just do his news. And then he would host the show. He wouldn't have to worry about this because there's a lot of elements with this.
Yeah, watching you do that, oh my Lord.
Yeah.
Over on the
Audio
show.
On
and all
both
this
sides,
stuff.
too. Here and over there and down here. It's like,
And
wow.
so I
you.
became the board up in the morning.
Wow.
And then now I've been working there 10 years as a board operator and an announcer. So you can hear me early in the mornings, Monday through Friday, 4 a.m. You can hear me on the radio. And we had our ratings out in the morning. We're number one.
Wow.
So I'm pinch myself and I'm like, I came here and tried to become a person that works for this station. And I didn't get the job originally.
Mm-hmm.
My friend, my brother, Greg Porter, got me in. He retired. Now I've been doing the mornings at the station for more than 10 years now. And I'm still to this day pinch myself like, I'm working at KUW. This is unbelievable. National Public Radio Station in Seattle. And you know what? I'm not bragging, but they like what I do. I go on vacation, they always say, oh my gosh, we're so glad you're back. Angela King and Natalie Newcomb, who I work in the morning on Braddah, we are so happy. And you know what, too? They all call me Braddah.
Oh,
Nice.
let's go.
Nice.
Because I stay true to who I am. I'm with Aloha.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a brother from Hawaii, and I will treat you right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do the best job I can. And I'm going to be honest with what I do. So that's
beautiful.
I just feel so blessed about that. So thanks for sharing that, for allowing me to share that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm just sitting here. Hey, we should close out by giving him the opportunity to send a message to his opponent. Man, that is it right there. It just harkens back to, just try it. You didn't just try it. You tried it, and then you kept at it. Mm-hmm. And from your perseverance, this great opportunity came, and that's amazing.
Well, and some would take that as almost as rejection. You tried, it didn't work, so a lot of people would hang it up. Oh, I'm not meant to do this just because I had a bump in the road. But
that friction, just
yeah.
And
so I think that is really encouraging and it wasn't you necessarily pursuing that still, whether it was your elders coming, and aligning things for you to be able to do that. But again, your kindness to this person and your relationship to this person, your aloha and love shared with this person is what opened the door for that to become a reality. And that is so beautiful. Man, that is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I love my mo'opuna, my grandkids. I love my wife, and I love my son, and I love my sisters, and I love everything. Love you folks, too. Mahalo for your aloha. Thank you so much for letting me share my mana'o with you today.
So I think we'll just close out with a couple other things. I think you should do this one. I think that'd be a good one.
The 5 years?
Yeah, 5
years.
years.
Because I already kind of know a little bit.
Yeah, we know a little bit.
We are really just kind of curious, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Living with my wife and maybe some other place. We're going to be closer to our ohana, our family, our mo'opuna, our grandkids. Yeah. And then maybe working for the travel industry. Because I like people and like to travel. So maybe see if that can work. And then you're doing that as I retire. And I don't think I'll be totally retired.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
What about for your broadcasting? Anything in the future, do you think? I know you said you want to retire, but...
POW. I think I'll go be POW because like I told you guys,
Yeah.
to wake up early in the morning a lot. And it's, it's hard work.
Yeah.
And I'd love for somebody to take over the radio show, but I kind of put it out there, but nobody yet. So
Yeah.
maybe we retire and then just, let it settle and move on and then go from there. But it's been nice to be able to spread the aloha here in the Pacific Northwest and allow a lot of people to be on the radio. I never would have imagined they would be on the radio. It's like, come on, let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
And it's always about, like, I talk to you guys now. That's
Yeah.
how I want them to feel when they come on the radio and join us. So
Well, I've been on twice now, and I have felt nothing but love and aloha since every time I've come in here. And I know Po'o's come on another time before, and he's had nothing but great experiences. So thank you for not only just articulating who you are, but really showing us who you are by your actions and really affirming the things that we believe about you. It's been such a blessing to know you and to get to know you, and hopefully to continue to, because we might be giving you a call down there in Utah and be like, hey,
We're coming down.
We're coming down.
Shoots. Let's do it.
That would
Yep.
be awesome. So
Yeah.
I would love to follow up, in a few years, and maybe see where you're at.
okay.
If
Mahalo.
you are ever questioning, how am I doing? What do people think? And I know from the statements you've made, you really don't put any effort or any thought into that. But you are amazing. You are doing amazing work. Just first getting to meet you at the Lahaina thing, I'm like, who is this guy? I don't know who and again, I didn't know the context of who you were or anything at that point. I was like, who's this guy emceeing? Oh, he's a friend of Auntie Mary's. Oh, okay, cool. And then listening to him, I was like, oh, wow, this guy's really good. And then the way that you came up and talked to me, and I'm like, oh, this guy's talking to me. And then also when I saw you again at the Aha Mele, I'm like, hey, Braddah Gomes, hey. And so just carrying on our conversation then, and then you opening the door for me to come on your radio show and talk about, being Kanaka Maoli, born and raised here on the continent. I appreciate you for giving me that opportunity. So again, whatever you feel like your driving forces and what you're here to do, your kuleana, you are doing it. You are an amazing person. We're so thankful to have got to know you over this last year. And so thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for everything you've given us. Thank you for everything you've given the Hawaiian community, people who love the islands, who maybe even aren't of Hawaiian descent. Just the fact that you want to spread aloha and the news, and through this vehicle that you have and the opportunities you grant other people's, we can't say mahalo enough. So
Thank you. Very, very humble. Mahalo. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Been blessed.
Yeah. Well, you share that. You do share that, and we appreciate it very much. So in closing, one of the last things we have is sometimes people have a quote. Is there any quote or mantra that you have lived by that you would like to share, or some driving thing that you tell yourself that you would like to share with your mo'opunas or other people to say, hey, this is what kept your grandpa going for so long, and this is what I want to share with you. If I don't get the opportunity to tell you in person, this is now your time to tell them.
Gosh, there's so many great people who have said amazing things, but I know that my dad, my grandpa, they always said, work hard and be honest. There's scriptures, there's quotes, there's a lot of different ways in which you can look at things, but work hard, be honest, and treat people with aloha. And you just treat people with aloha, even if they say stuff that's negative or anything like that. But you come from a place of aloha. Usually, you can disarm them, and just know I'm not here to hurt your feelings. I'm not here to do bad.
Yeah.
So just treat people with aloha. Because I had to, sometimes I said stupid things when I was growing up. Trying to be wise and all that.
Yeah.
And so, if I said something that hurt your feelings, I'm sorry, totally sorry, because that's not how aloha is, and that's not how my Heavenly Father wants me to treat other people. So, and then to do a better job of serving more people, just do a better job. I got to do a better job of serving people. So, yeah, that's what I want my mo'opuna to do. Treat everybody with aloha, work hard, be honest, and follow the promptings of the Savior, because you're going to do good. And it's not about you. It's about the Savior, but it's also, when you do that, you feel good about things. So, mahalo, you guys.
Keep them simple. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Well, we had, we spoke a little bit about doing a pule at the beginning. Kind of bummed we didn't.
Yeah.
But maybe could we close in prayer? This will be a first that for us to close out in prayer. I think that would be so beautiful to do.
You like I do it?
If you don't mind.
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Mahalo ke akua for thy blessings. Mahalo to our kupuna. Mahalo to our ancestors for bringing us here and for guiding us and allow us to be more in tune with what messages you have for us, because we know you are trying to communicate with us, to listen to what you have for us while we manage ourselves on earth, so that we can continue to aloha everybody. Mahalo nui for our wife, our partners. Mahalo nui for our keiki. Mahalo nui for thy leaders, and bless them that they look at you for their abilities to lead. Lead from thy pillars, from thy love, and from thy positive words, and to treat others as thou would have you treat them. And continue to bless us as we go forward, and bless those who are in need, that we can reach out and serve them and allow them to see their worth and allow them to see their abilities to serve thee. And we say this in Keakua's name. Amen.
Amen. Appreciate that. This is Poe.
This is No from the Pono Podcast. With Braddah Gomes, mahalo nui for taking the time to join us today. Mahalo, Braddah, for
your time.
Yeah, for your time. Because we know this is also a sacrifice for you. So, mahalo again. And don't forget, you could tune in KXPA 1540 a.m., 9 a.m. on Saturdays for if you're in the Washington area, but also online. They can get to the broadcast. You can stream them online.
Worldwide at kxpa.com.
There you go. And check it out. Again, thank you, Braddah Gomes. Thank you, Poe. And love and aloha from the Pono Podcast.
Ahui ho.
Ahui ho.